Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 422 in our updated coverage of the war in Ukraine. And, of course, we also look at other things in the world, but our focus there in Ukraine. 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 4 a.m. right now in Ukraine. That would be on the 22nd of April. We're still on the 21st. Want to thank you for being here. There is much happening. I've got a lot of translation tonight, quite a few videos. Of course, we've had the Ramstein meeting, the defensive meeting in Europe. We've also had, Reznikov was there. We've also had Stoltenberg in Kyiv making his visit there. Lots of things have happened. I've got a lot of video, a lot of translation, and we're also going to see the responses from the Kremlin. So thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. Continue to give. All of the descriptions are in the links, and consider joining the Patreon. Fantastic group where we're continually updating and providing more translation so that the world can understand what is happening, and through that, we also support Ukraine. So, much appreciated. Let's get right to it tonight. We're going to start, let's start here tonight. Why not? Let's start with NATO. This is actually a picture where Zelenskyy and Stoltenberg were having their meeting and their press conference. After Stoltenberg had come, he had spent time with Zelenskyy and the other leaders of Ukraine. This is actually a picture of a tweet from Viktor Orban. Of course, that would be Hungary, and you can see his response. What? Question mark, exclamation point. What is he referring to? That's where we're going to begin tonight. Stoltenberg said very clearly, Ukraine's place is in NATO. And this being his first wartime visit, also made some waves there in Russia with Putin, with Lavrov, of course, with the propagandist. But I have Stoltenberg's statements, a few of them after his visit. Let's start there, and then maybe you will understand a little bit more why Viktor Orban would say what. Because, of course, you guys know he is in the camp of Vladimir Putin. He is pro-Russia. Period. Additionally, you may have also seen that German defense minister said, hold on now, your statements were a little bit too direct. Now, I do not want you to misunderstand that. Germany is really stepping up and becoming a good ally to this defense of the Ukrainian territory, providing weapons. They're doing a great job. But I understand his statement. He made two statements today, the defense minister of Germany. He says, listen, I don't even care if Ukraine starts pounding across the border in Russia. I support it 100%. I'm for it. We're going to do more to help provide weapons. We're going to do the best we can. We're for you. But when you begin to declare that Ukraine's going to be right in the NATO that quick, that changes things for us, because if they're fully in NATO, then I've got to send soldiers to that front line. So let's make sure our processes are in order. We've discussed this. Zelenskyy invited in July to come to the next NATO meeting, pathway being cleared for Ukraine to join NATO. But, friends, I'm here to tell you, unless some crazy event happens, it's not going to happen while this war is active, because I remind you, if it does, it's not then money and tanks and some weapons. There is a guarantee of boots on the ground, depending on how the structure is in place with Ukraine. So this is why people like Orban, I try to help you understand, would start screaming, what? That would call us into place. Germany defense minister said, hold on, a little too strong statement there. We completely support, but hold up on Stoltenberg. You're welcoming them the way you do. So here you have it. Here's the remarks that kind of frazzled Orban and the German defense minister.
NATO stands with Ukraine. We stood by you after Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea in 2014. We stand by you today in your heroic fight against the Russian invaders and in defense of your country. And we will stand by you tomorrow as you rebuild and work toward a brighter future for the Ukrainian people. We do not know when this war will end, but we know that Russian aggression is a toxic pattern that must be stopped. We agreed on the importance of a just and sustainable peace, and I strongly welcome President Zelensky's peace plan. We must continue to strengthen Ukraine's armed forces, and we must ensure that robust, powerful arrangements are in place for Ukraine's security. Let me be clear. Ukraine's rightful place is in the Euro-Atlantic family. Ukraine's rightful place is in NATO. And over time, our support will help you make this possible. Today, the President and I discussed a multi-year support initiative. This will help you transition from Soviet-era equipment and doctrines to NATO standards and ensure full interoperability with the alliance. It is a testament to NATO's long-term commitment to Ukraine. NATO stands with you today, tomorrow, and for as long as it takes. So, President Zelensky.
So there you have it. That was Stoltenberg's statements. Very direct, very clear. He even said, let me be clear. Your place is in Europe. Your place is in NATO. And we will lay out the plan to continue your accession toward that. It was very direct and clear. But he also said, we're going to stand with you. NATO's here. This is why Orban was screaming, what are you talking about? And German defense minister saying, hold on, we're going to support you, but let's hold our horses back just a little bit there, Mr. Stoltenberg. So I personally had no problems with what he was saying. I think it was clear, but it's bringing about this division. I remind you that the Kremlin story is Ukraine is ours. It's our brothers. It's our sisters. This is our culture. I'm just repeating what they say. Europe saying, Ukraine, you're ours. So, folks, who's caught in the middle? Ukraine. Where's the war being fought? In Ukraine. Which people are dying every day? Ukrainians. It's extremely complicated. So what we have is a divided world. And that dividing line right now is right through the middle of Ukraine. You know, I would even go further. It's you guys know where I stand on this stuff. Let me see here. You know, if you start looking at the map, let me do this. Of course, you see Ukraine here, Russia this way, Europe this way. You have Ukraine and Belarus. Of course, Belarus, all Russia. Right through this middle line. But if you just keep coming down, folks, it's like this is the dividing line. You move into Turkey, you come down into Israel, all of these different places. And this is the dividing line right through Ukraine, right through Turkey, right through the Middle East. And this is what we're experiencing, this multipolar, this division. In fact, that is how Vladimir Putin responded about polarity. Here is his response, his statements. Trend are going to lose. It's an absolutely obvious fact. Let me start that over for you. There you go. The trend that you have been told about, the tendency that's in the world right now towards multipolarity is happening. different sides, and those who do not understand it and follow this trend are going to lose. It's an absolutely obvious fact. It is as obvious as the rising of the sun, and there's nothing that you will be able to do about it. Those who try to prevent this polarization, they're only going to face additional problems, which they already have enough of. Well, God be with them. We are on our way. We will continue to show good results, and our task is to make sure that this way forward continues to grow. So there you have it. That is Putin's statement. So he uses a different term, polarity, division, whatever it may be. It's happening right through the middle of Ukraine today. Additionally, it wasn't just Stoltenberg being there in Kyiv yesterday. The Ramstein meetings were there. Lloyd Austin was there. Leaders throughout Europe talking about the supply of defense weapons to Ukraine, strategies, whatever is needed for the defense of Ukraine. Those meetings went very well. Reznikov came out late tonight and says, our results were good. We're having some plans. No, airplanes are not on the table. F-16s are not on the table. No big supply of that. What the focus will be over the next few months is the ability of Ukraine to defend their skies from the ground. So we already know that up to 4 Patriot systems are physically in Ukraine. I do not know if that will mean further Patriots, but he was very clear about that was the major deal. They were also talking about demining. They were talking about the supply of munitions, et cetera, but no airplanes were on the table. But these are the major things that have happened over the last couple of days that continue to bring about this division, this polarity that both sides are talking about. Both sides. Stoltenberg saying, Ukraine, you're European. Russia saying, Ukraine, you're Russian. Ukraine says, we're European. We'll see what happens. Now, with that said, we go to this. This has been a topic of a lot of discussion over the last few days, and that is the banning of grain imports into European nations and some of the European Union. I want to update you guys on this as of tonight, right now. It started with Poland banning grain imports. This was a few days ago. I kind of let this one ride because I knew it would change. Then Ukraine talks to Poland. Poland says, okay, let's readjust our position. Why would Poland, one of the greatest allies of Ukraine, even consider a grain ban or an import ban on grains? It's pretty simple. It's not just Ukraine that is having their economy wrecked right now. And please hear me, it is completely destroyed. Completely. Absolutely destroyed. But European nations are also struggling due to this war. We talked about the sanctions of Russia, and it's going to destroy them economically. They're selling more oil than ever, going to China, to India, to Africa, to Asia. Yes, they're having some repercussions from the sanctions, of course, but it's not to the level the world expected. But Europe, they're having some issues. You know, I can't say the American economy is directly tied to that, but those of you that are in here that are Americans, just look around. Our economy destroyed. That's my opinion. It's in serious trouble. Maybe it's a better and more fair way to say it. We've got serious issues of our own. So these nations started coming out saying, hold on, we've got to make sure that our farmers can export. A lot of Polish territory looks exactly like Ukraine. Very, very agricultural. Lots of exports. It's just not as large as the Ukrainian exports. So that began to change. Poland adjusted their position, but it's not only Poland. It was other nations. It was Czech. It was Romania. It was Hungary. It was Bulgaria. And then there were some EU positions, not only on grain, but they started looking at eggs and butters and sugars and salts. I remind you, Ukraine, prior to Solidar falling, one of the biggest exporters of salt in the world. That's why Russia wanted the city of Solidar. It has fallen, and they have access to those salt mines now. So now we are getting back and forth on this. Okay, we're going to do import on this and this and this, eggs and cheese, not grain. Okay, grain, but not eggs. The bottom line is this is a very fluid situation that is adjusting daily, but that's kind of the update if you've been seeing some of that on your news and your headlines. Last night, Ugledar. I'll show you this on the map here. This is one of the frontline 3 major battles. Of course, the first one being Bakmut, and we'll look at that closer in just a moment. You come down south of that, and you've got Avdiivka, and then wrapping around, you can see the buildup here. The Russian invaders are starting to push into Ugledar again. This is the third main thrust of their offensive right now. And as we have shared with you, they are now using much more dropped bombs, 500 kilogram bombs dropped from aircraft, guided and unguided, and they're just dropping them. This building was hit by one of those 500 kilogram bombs from an airplane. This is a picture from last night, yesterday, where this building was destroyed, and that is in the city of Ugledar. As well, as I was telling you, up from Ugledar, which is right here, you then come up the front line. Of course, Marinka is just about completely gone, and you come up to Avdiivka, and then this is where Zelenskyy came and met, and then you come to straight up the line, and you come to Bakmut. Ukraine came out today, that Deputy Secretary of Defense, Malyar, and said, listen, our guys are doing good. We are losing some ground in Bakmut, but the purpose is being fulfilled. Every day our heroes are holding out in Bakmut. It gives us more time to have the Ramstein meetings, to have the NATO meetings, to get access to more supplies, more defense, more weapons, more partnerships, more agreements. So that is, if people are wondering, why are they still holding on to that? Why are they still fighting? It's a time issue. And yes, they are fighting over the dirt right now as it's being leveled step by step. Now, if we zoom in, as we like to do, and take a peek here at Bakmut, you can see where, as always, over the last few weeks, from the right, Wagner pushing into the center, and black arrows represent Russian forces. Their paratroopers is what they call them. They're stormtroopers that they've rotated in to push from the north and the south. The red X is still the bridge that is blown there that would give access to supply lines from the north. That's not happening. The only access is in the blue corridor through Ivanivsky, coming into the southwest side of Bakmut. Couple of things I have for you from Bakmut. This is actually an image. So put this picture in your mind here. And you guys know Bakmut very well now, but just look at the blue line, the access road there coming through Ivanivsky. Why is it so difficult? How does it look like an apocalyptic? I posted one of those videos on Patreon, but here is an aerial satellite image released today. The blue line at the bottom, I added that. That is actually the roadway coming through Ivanivsky, coming into Bakmut. Look at the fields. All the shelling, all the black marks you see there. We've rode through miles and miles and miles and miles of fields that look like that. I promise you, that's littered with shells, the missile systems, everything, artillery that's in the ground that didn't explode. It's a disaster. But this is why it's so terrible. Ukrainian forces trying their best to hold on to that road, but this is what it looks like. Now, I've got an update here from Ukrainian soldier. Let me click this over here. I voiced it over for you. He's giving an update on Bakmut. You may not be able to see it, so I'll just tell you right here across his chest, he's got his name, his nickname, and it says Yadya Roma. So as you look at this guy, I'll translate for you his call name that he's using here. It's Uncle Roma, Yadya. So the word for uncle is Yadya. The word for aunt is Totya. So you have Yadya for uncle, and this is Yadya Roma giving us an update from inside Bakmut. You hear the shelling, everything. He's telling us what's happening there. Very interesting. Check this out. Possible and impossible is being done to protect. Why are my videos like that right now? Here we go. Glory to Ukraine. We are in the city, the fortress city of Bakmut. Everything possible and impossible is being done to protect Bakmut so that this fortress will stand. But the enemy today is going absolutely mad. There's a great influx of troops against us, wave after wave. They launch groups for the assault. The forces of Bakmut are heroically repulsing pile after pile. We're defending every meter of Ukraine in this city of Bakmut, the fortress. The enemy uses army aviation, multiple rocket launchers, artillery, tanks, other weapons. But our guys and girls stand bravely and do their duty. The fortress of Bakmut is still standing. Glory to Ukraine. So there you have the update from Yadya Roma. You heard the 3 shells. I can tell you 100% that's outgoing. I've been right beside that many, many times. I know that sound perfectly. It's outgoing, but you hear the update. It's just an all-out assault, which shows the professionalism, the demeanor. He was calm. And that's Ukrainian soldiers. We know them personally. These guys are professional and they're good. They're undermanned right now, and they're undersupplied in comparison to the Russian side, but they're doing an amazing job of holding on to Bakmut right there. Now, also today, one of the Ramstein meetings coming, or results of the Ramstein meeting, was that there would be a resupplying of European, I don't know if it's American, NATO, whatever, demining solutions. I remind you that Ukraine is the most mined territory in the world now. It's not Afghanistan. It's not any of those places. It's not down in Africa. It's not in the Middle East. It is Ukraine. You can see here, we've seen minefields like this. That's an actual minefield there in Ukraine. You can just see the mines lined up. So we have mining supplies or demining supplies coming, equipment for that. But the ingenuity of Ukrainian farmers is unbelievable, working with and helping the military. So Ukrainian farmers, Ukrainian infrastructure and businesses. We're going to hear from actually President Zelenskyy about that at the end of the update tonight. They are working the best they can to modify equipment, heavy equipment, tractors, or other types of heavy equipment to demine safely. So Ukraine did a piece on this. I'm not going to run the audio on it because it's in such fast Ukrainian, it would be impossible to translate. I just want you to see they're converting these earth movers, tractors. They've got chains hanging on the buckets. They have put steel around the cabins, and they're demining their fields. They're fighting for their homeland. This is what it looks like. I'll give you a few seconds of this so you can see it. It's a Hitachi, and you can see those are just chains hanging. Of course, there's the demining. This is all out of a farming collective there in the Krivoy Rog area that put this together, and that's what they are. You can see the chains hanging there. They're just doing their best to do their part to defend their homeland. So very cool, very cool. Once again, pointing to the ingenuity of the Ukrainians. Now, I can also tell you tonight, as a part of the update, that Ukraine will be extending martial law at least through August the 19th, with another 90 days on top of that already ready. So that has to go from the executive branch, the president's office, and then the Rada, or basically their legislative house, has to approve it, and they will. So martial law is going to continue. What does this mean? This means that mobilization will continue. Many people have asked me, is Ukraine mobilizing soldiers? Yes, they are mobilizing soldiers. Absolutely. Not only that, many people, you don't hear a lot about it because many Ukrainians are volunteering. Seriously, volunteering to go and defend their homeland. Lots and lots and lots, many volunteers. But conscription, mobilization continues. The use of enterprise in business, taxation rules, all of this that falls under mobilization, falls under martial law that is declared in Ukraine and active, will continue right now through August the 19th, and then it will continue after that as well. But that's the latest official one. Now, it is a Friday night. We're here and giving the update. I have two last things I want to share with you tonight. The first one, I'll translate it for you. It's just a little short video. It is showing a Ukrainian soldier at lunch. So, soldier having lunch here. You're going to see a soldier sitting on a tank talking about his lunch. A couple of things I want to draw your attention to. I'll translate what he's saying for you. But he's sitting on a captured Russian tank. You'll see the Z at the bottom, but you'll also see him sitting on the tank with a pizza box. Where does the pizza come from? It comes from the gas stations. So there's really just a couple of gas stations, brands, Oko and Wog. These are companies. It'd be like Shell and whatever, Exxon, Chevron, I don't know. But wherever is in your country, your gas stations. But in Ukraine, Oko and Wog, those are the two major ones. And they have pizza. So many times soldiers will send one of the soldiers out of the front line to go get hot dogs and pizza. I'm serious. And bring it back. And there's many soldiers that run this food for them so that they can have a piece of normal life there on the front. So this guy's having lunchtime in Ukraine. Pretty cool, sitting on the tank here. Thought it'd be good on a Friday night. Share this on day 422. Here he is. Here he is now. All right, it's lunchtime here, sitting on this tank. Oh, thank you for the guys that brought it. This pizza is tasty. Slava Ukraine. So you can see him sitting there. Glory to Ukraine, rather. He's got his pizza box. He's sitting on an overturned tank. I can tell you that tank is overturned freshly because there's no rust. And you see the Z on it. So pretty cool lunchtime there in Ukraine with the soldiers. So they do everything they can to have some type of normalcy on the front lines. Now, I haven't done this for you in a while, but tonight Zelensky's statements were very powerful and very strong. I'm going to give you a couple minutes of that voiced over. I have put the voiceover on that, translated. Of course, he's speaking in Ukrainian. So, of course, my buddies in Ukraine help with all of this. And this is what things like Patreon help support and do. So if you are here and you appreciate these translations, it basically costs you a cup of coffee, 1 cup of coffee. And it helps just so we can bless the guys that do all of this. I speak Russian. I do not speak Ukrainian. A little bit. I mean, I can goof off with it. But so when it gets to hardcore Ukrainian, I have lots of help. So here it is, an update tonight. This was Zelensky's update, and this is where we'll close out the evening. President Zelensky speaking, and you can really hear some of the things he's talking about, especially after the Ramstein meetings, the meetings with NATO and Stoltenberg, listening to the Russian mess. He just makes a couple of statements tonight about defending Ukraine and mobilization and what Ukraine must do to win this war. Very interesting couple of minutes here. Here's President Zelensky just a little while ago.
I wish everyone health tonight in Ukraine. Today I spent with the Stavka today, meeting with General Syrsky and Tarnavsky, the head of the GUR, and representatives of the government. They all made reports. We constantly and very carefully analyze the course of hostilities, the hottest places, and all the most dangerous directions. Of course, the front line is our number one priority. We are also actively preparing new brigades and units that will prove themselves at the front. The question of their provision, training, integration into the general defense plan. Every time at the meetings of the Stavka, we add important details. Now, please, everyone in Ukraine must understand that the main task of the state is the deoccupation of our territories, the return of our lands, and our people from Russian captivity. State resources are directed primarily to this task, and I am grateful to everyone who helps, who keeps the world's attention to Ukraine, to everyone who creates jobs in Ukraine, who pays taxes, those who stayed in Ukraine and supports the work of our enterprises, to everyone who organizes meetings for our soldiers in recovery, meetings in Ukraine and meetings in other countries. Now, just like last year, we all need to continue to maintain our unity. Mobilization is going to continue, and full concentration on our defenses. Today, I would like to personally thank each and every one who produces weapons and ammunition, drones at state defense enterprises, and businesses that have joined us. To everyone who repairs equipment, who creates new equipment, in particular for demining. Thank you for that fact. Despite everything, Ukraine is increasing our defense production potential, and we thank everyone that helps us.
So there you have it. Really interesting, all the things that I was working through today for the update. President Zelensky put them in a 2-minute nutshell. Thank you for those supplying us. Of course, that's referring to NATO, partners, America, other nations around the world, Australia. He also spoke about mobilization. He says it's going to continue. He told the Ukrainian people, do not grow weary. Thank you to the businesses. Thank you to the volunteers. He talked specifically to you out there that are a part of this update, that are part of our community, myself, all of our team, and all those around the world that are helping. He says, whoever's telling the story and keeping it alive so that Ukraine is not forgotten, thank you. That is what we do here to do our part. Additionally, he talked about just being re-encouraging or being an encouragement to the Ukrainian people, saying, listen, don't grow weary. Don't grow weary. Don't get upset. Thank you for paying taxes. Thank you for those who stayed. That's a little bit of an issue there with those who have left. A lot that did leave should have already been back, and they're not. They're not. But he made a statement about it. Thank you for those that have stayed. Our number one priority is to free our land and to return our people from Russian captivity. So, have a question on mobilization? Don't take it from me. Zelensky said it himself. If you have a question about what is the goal of Ukraine, take it from us. Take it from the president. He says to get our territory back and to set our land free. That includes Crimea. So, that's the update for today. Day number 422 is in the books. I've had some issues with video tonight and with my brain rolling the way it's supposed to, but we've had a great update. Thank you, as always. Thank you for continuing to share this. Tell your friends. Put it on your social media. Thank you for continuing to give, to be a part of Patreon, to hit the Amazon list, whatever it may be. Thank you for doing your part. And I think President Zelensky said it better than anyone could say it. We are forever grateful to those that continue to tell our story and be a help to the nation of Ukraine. So that's where we're at. You guys be blessed. You have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday, if not before. If something goes sideways, we'll be here. If not, we'll see you on Patreon. Be blessed. We'll see you Monday.